welcome to the review for round two. So we see in round two that our net profits as total for our industry have gone up. So we can see that a number of teams were just barely touching the 50 million mark of profits, and now we have plenty of teams touching the 70 million, with a few teams well over the 70 million mark. So net profits have gone up, and net profits should go up because if you're running the company with a good strategy, meaning you're working to increase your profit margins and sales are going up by double digits, you should see an increase in net profits. If you see where net profits are flat, in some companies net profits are flat or haven't increased too much, then there's a bad strategy at play. If you look at the points per team, we could see that the Gigawatt Auto had 1,000 points. Now last time they had 444 points, so now they moved up to 1,000 points. And 444 points was a weak showing for round one. Usually round one teams get around 600 to 800 points because it's round one's the easiest round to make points. So any team earning over 400 points in round two is done very well. So your round two, 400 is about the average, and most teams have surpassed that average. We still have one team losing points. Not sure why. Stock price. So number one stock price here we have is $36 and down to $14. So this stock price, we have a big range of companies in stock price, and this has to do with the amount of outstanding shares, the amount of profits, the amount of earnings per share. These are all going to encourage investors to buy more shares of stock. Sales per team. So we have the Go-Getters still have very good number one in sales, followed by Auto Hungry or Hungry Auto. So we have a number of Matt's Cars. So some teams are doing very well in sales, but sales themselves are not what drives profits. You have to turn those sales into profits, which takes a strategy. Anybody can sell a lot of anything as long as you lower the price enough. You're going to sell, and you advertise heavily, you'll sell a lot of something. But you want to make sure you sell something in an efficient and profitable way. Okay, earnings per share. So we see that we have a number of teams here doing very well in earnings per share. Most teams have increased. One team here, this team has gone down. So you may want to look at that. Some teams are flat. This team also went down. So earnings per share, why did your earnings per share go down? Maybe you issued too many outstanding shares of stock, or maybe you disappointed and your earnings per share came in lower. Okay. So that's just a quick industry charts. Now I'm going to go into and demonstrate what I would do for when I was completing round two. So let me go into my practice game. So here is my practice team for round three. So now we're in round three, or Y3. First thing I want to do is go over my overview, and I want to see, okay, I was able to increase my sales by 50%. My quick ratio and debt ratios did not improve. My profit margins did improve for gross, operational, and net, which helped me earn points in my total asset turnover, return on equity, earnings per share, return on assets. My market capitalization went up, and my book value and my forecasting was more accurate. So I earned some points there, and I had increased my operational investments, and I had a surplus. So I had 525 points. I was shooting for about 400 points, so I did relatively well for round two. And then I would go into the assessment, and I would check out the assessment to see what I could do better in some of the areas, get some hints, check out my chart, specifically my team performance chart. I want to see my forecasting that, yeah, I forecasted too low. And look at all the sales I gave away. So I'm going to take note that this is my actual sales, so I under forecasted a great deal compared to what I should have done. And I'm going to refer to the student user guide for year three, and I'm going to take note that the average sales, if I did nothing special, this is pretty much where my sales would land. And I would so I see that the sales go up a large percentage every year, 25% for economy, 30% for sedan, 20% for truck, 35% for luxury. So I could see that big increase from year 2 to year 3. So this would be sort of the baseline. Going into industry, I could see what the other teams have done and maybe what some of the better teams have done. I could review how they set their cars up, what their demand was. Then I can go into financials, maybe review some financials, and start again in sales. So now I have my year 3 in sales. My operational cost reductions are up because I made an investment in that. So now I'm going to redesign my vehicles, and hopefully I'm going to make them better than they were in the previous year, in the hope of getting my profit margins up. And truck is a tricky one to, and I'm just putting these numbers in really quickly. What I'm trying to focus on is that my profit margins are going up, which I see that they are. So truck here, I see my profit margins are only going up a little bit. I want them to be a little bit higher. Okay, so truck's a tricky one here as far as not really being able to, so I may pull back, and I'll leave a forecast like that. Okay, so then and I see here also on luxury, I'm having a hard time really getting that profit margin up. Okay, so there I was able to get it. So I always want this profit margin to be higher for all my cars, because that's what I'm in business for, to increase shareholder wealth and increase profit margins. Okay, so the marketing takes a really long time to do. So when you do the marketing, you have to make sure that you check out the marketing section of the user guide, the student user guide, to get an idea of what's effective to allocate your money based on that. And it takes a while, so I'm going to pause the video before I move to production. Okay, so now that I'm in production, I'm going to have to buy some production plants. And this is going to be expensive. So I bought my production plants. I want to see first what my financial side is like. And I do have a surplus, which is good. So I'm going to go back to production, and I'm going to buy some additional levels of operating cost reductions, because I get points for investing in the company, but it also makes it easier for me to have better profit margins the following year. So I always want to invest in my company. Now, if you don't invest in your company, you fall behind, because other companies will be investing in innovation, research, technology, software, efficiencies, and you don't want to be left behind. So I want to keep trying to funnel money back into the company. And I still have a nice little surplus, so I'm going to just buy back a little debt. And I still have, a $10 million surplus is good to keep. If you have a deficit last round, maybe you want to bump it up to 20 million. Just if you're over forecasting a little aggressively, that's up to you. So that's important. Okay, so I'm going to finish the round here and complete year 3. So that would be sort of my hints for year 3. So if we go back to mine, you do have sales and marketing charts. So if you want to go in, you can also analyze using these charts the total spending by team in the marketing areas to get a better idea. And you can see that one team here failed to do much marketing. So the advertising spending, so you can kind of see where you are compared to competitors. So it's worth it to do the analysis of the industry analysis, the marketing and sales analysis to kind of see where you are compared to your competitors. And let's see the industry charts. And again, what you want to do, what you want to aim for next year is increase your net profit margins. So I think next year more people will be getting closer to the 90 million level in net profit margins. And you definitely want to try to get at least over 400 points for round 3. Round 3, most teams get between 400 and 500 points. You don't want to get really below that. And you want to keep funneling those profits, which is going to generate higher earnings per share. And when you review your information, take a close look at your individual performance charts to see how you're doing in sales. You want to see this nice upward trend in profits and profits versus sales. So you want to see that your profits are increasing with sales, your stock price, your earnings per share, points. It's not like I said, it's not uncommon to see your points go down from round 1 to round 2. It doesn't mean you're doing bad. It just means that you're competing against some very strong players, and you're competing against your last round's results. So if they were very strong, it's going to be hard to year over year beat that every year as you're competing against yourself now. And you can see your percentage of your sales, units sold, and this is the most important chart I talked about before. Your market versus potential. So this sales, or my actual sales, this blue is my potential. So I gave up a lot of potential sales because I under forecasted, and I did that on truck and luxury. I did that on purpose because I didn't want to buy a new production plan just to make a couple hundred cars. So I gave up those willingly, but I certainly should have bought. I had room to sell another 400 cars here, and I would have had to buy another production plant, but to sell 400 cars would have been well worth it. So these are the choices and analysis you have to make. Okay, so that's the end of my quick video to review round 2 and some helpful hints for round 3. And remember, don't copy exactly what I did. I'm just giving you an example of how to complete round 3. A lot of those numbers I put in there rather quickly, so I wouldn't exactly follow my model. I'm not shooting to be number 1 in the class. I'm just kind of giving you a walkthrough of things you should be thinking about and how you can fill out your round. So whatever you do is best as possible, but by no means are my inputs going to be number 1 in the class or the best possible. They're just really average inputs put in kind of quickly, but I wanted to just go over some hints and some things to concentrate on and think about as you're doing your round 3. Okay, thank you for your time, and I hope you found this helpful.